Some stories are not told, they are kept. Not to protect the listener, but to contain what happened. This is one of them. This was written in New Orleans, the city that once trusted the night, in the year 1918. Doors were left unlocked, windows were open to the heat. Families slept believing danger made noise. They believed monsters smashed their way in. They were very, very wrong. Because this one did not force entry. He waited, he listened for the sigh of the less conscious breath, for the rhythm of the settled sleep, and when the house was quiet enough, and it was just a shell breathing, he stepped inside. Not a sound, only the knowing afterwards that you were not alone. The first homes were modest shopkeepers, grocers, families who worked long days and slept deeply. There were no signs of struggle at first glance. No broken locks, no shattered glass, only an axe. Not one brought with him. Taken from inside the house, from the shed, from the woodpile, from the corner of their own kitchen. As if he wanted the home itself to participate, to offer up the means of its own violation. One of those homes belonged to Joseph Maggio and his wife Catherine. They slept in the same bed they always had. The axe that struck them came from their own property. Some victims lived, some didn't. But all of them woke to the same horror, a shadow dissolved by moonlight, a pressure in the air now gone. Someone had been standing over them while they slept, measuring their rest. Police searched for patterns, a street, a profession, a grudge. They found none that made any sense. The attack came without warning, and they ended the same way. With nothing left behind but the axe laying on the floor, clean or otherwise. This, the weapon's testimony. Let us consider the axe as not a subtle tool. It is for splitting, for cleaving. It speaks in a single blunt syllable. But in his hand, it became silent. No swing was wasted, no blow was wild. It was clinical. A butcher knows his knife, a sculptor knows his chisel. He knew the axe. It became an extension of a terrible patience, and every axe left behind. Was it a message? I was here, I used your own. I could do it again. The weapon was no longer a tool. It was a relic, a proof of visit. Would you ever pick that axe up again? Could you ever chop wood with it? Or would it just lean in the corner watching? When the city learned fear, word spreads faster than footsteps. Soon the city whispered, not in salons, but in kitchens, over fences, in the lines at the market. People stopped sleeping near windows. Axes were removed from the bedrooms, as if it was a foreseeable death sentence. Knives were hidden under pillows. Some families stayed awake all night, parents taking shifts in a chair by the door, listening for a creak that didn't belong, for a breath that wasn't theirs, and still he came. Not every night, not predictably, that made it worse, because fear with no schedule never rests. It pulls up a chair, makes itself a home. The silence became suspicious. Every normal night was just a reprieve. Then the city received a message, not to the police, but to the newspaper. He wanted an audience. A letter sent to the Times, Picayune. It claimed to be written by the one responsible. The writer said he was not human. I am not a man, I am a spirit. That he came from somewhere else, a demon, a phantom. That he answered to no law of man. But he offered a mercy. A bizarre, cruel bargain. On one Pacific night, he promised to pass over the city like the angel of death, unless jazz was playing. I am very fond of jazz music, he wrote. Any home filled with jazz music would be spared. And in the genius of it, some laughed, but fear was still living inside of them. Many panicked, but when fear is already inside your walls, it has tested the air in your bedroom. You do not test it. You do not argue with the terms. You play the music. The night the city sang, on that chosen night, New Orleans did something it had never done before. Played for its life. Music did not just spill into the streets, it flooded them. It poured from every open window, every cracked door. Pianos, trumpets, fiddles, phonographs. Bands played until their fingers hurt, until their lips were numb. People who owned no instrument banged on pots and pans. They sang, they hummed, they whistled. A ragged, desperate symphony. That was no silence for him to hide in. The city had armed itself with the sound, and when the sun rose, bleary and slow, not one home, not one report. The city obeyed the monster's receipt, and the city survived. But what does it cost a city to buy safety with song? They never caught him, but they left behind their words. The grocer's wife, who woke up to a figure at the foot of her bed. I thought I was dreaming, until I saw the dew from the grass on his shoes. The little boy who heard a chopping sound, like for kindling, but inside. The police chief, to the press, frustrated. He is a phantom, and phantoms are hard to arrest. And the survivors, they were marked in a different way. Not by the blade, but by the knowledge that they had been chosen, that they had been observed in their most defenseless state. One man took his own axe and shattered it into splinters. Then he moved, not to another street, but another state. Investigation grew cold, the files grew thick, and the questions changed from who is he to what did we let inside. The Axeman taught the city something permanent, something that outlasted the fear, the locks, the jazz, that evil does not always break in sometimes. It waits quietly for an invitation you know you gave. Sometimes it uses what is already yours, your trust, your tool, your silence, and sometimes it leaves behind nothing but a story. One we keep, not to protect you, but to remind you to listen to the quality of your own quiet and ask, what is it right now waiting for?